Hello and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. And today we're taking a look at Regent. This video is going to be a little bit different from my previous one. Instead of talking about a mythological or historical character or a folkloric creature, we're going to be talking about an actual thing, the Regent Diamond, or La Regente. Now, the story of the discovery of the stone is somewhat dubious, but this seems to be the most agreed upon origin. The stone was unearthed in 1698 in the Kolar mines of India. I'm pronouncing that wrong. It was found by a slave who, upon finding the massive 400 plus carat stone called Finders Keepers, and snuck it out of the mine by hiding it in a wound on his leg. Gross. Effective, but gross. Afterwards, the slave made his way to the coast, where he contracted a ship captain to give him passage, saying he'd pay half of what the stone would sell for when he sold it. The captain agreed, but decided that he could make even more money if he just killed this guy and stole the stone. So he did. Rude. From here, the story is much more reliable. After changing hands a couple more times, in 1701 it was bought by Thomas Pitt, a member of the British colonial government. Pitt sent the stone to London to be cut and polished. After 2 years of work, the stone became the gem we know today, a cushion-cut 140-ish carat gemstone with a light blue color, with smaller gems cut from it supposedly being sold to Peter the Great of Russia. The larger gem was much harder to sell because, it's a massive diamond. Not too many people can foot the bill for something like that. It was eventually sold in 1717 to the French crown by French Regent Philippe II, Duke of Orléans, which is where it gets its name, the Regent. Afterwards, it was part of the crown jewels, adorning many royal items. First, it was part of the coronation crown of Louis XV, then the coronation crown of Louis XVI, before adorning a hat worn by Marie Antoinette. It was stolen sometime during the Revolution, but was eventually recovered from a Parisian attic. After a few years of being used for collateral because post-revolution France was broken to AF, it was returned to France and placed in a sword for the coronation of Napoleon Bonaparte. After a short trip to Austria following Napoleon's exile, it was returned to France and placed in the crowns of Louis XVIII, Charles X, and Napoleon III, the one with the dumb mustache. In 1887, the Third French Republic decided to sell the royal jewels, all except the Regent. It was placed in the Louvre, and aside from during World War II, when it was taken out and hidden so that the Twisty Windmill Brigade wouldn't get it, it has stayed there ever since. There is a curse associated with the Regent. Supposedly the Regent brings misfortune to anyone who owns it, starting with the slave who found it, through Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, to the Napoleons. Now, you could argue that most of those people were rich and powerful in a time and place where it was dangerous to be either of those things, and that owning the Regent was just coincidental. But we all know that the reality is the spirit of the murdered slave who originally found the Regent cursed it so that anyone who owned it would face misfortune, and the only way to break the curse is to return the Regent to where it was found. And that's the story of the Regent, the cursed diamond of France. So, is it represented well in game? No. Not only is the shape wrong, being a round cut instead of a cushion cut, the color is all wrong. The Regent has a very light blue hue to it. This is pink! You can't get much farther away from blue than pink! Now, I think the Arcana does work well. Regent is under the Emperor Arcana, but at the end of the day, it's really just a shiny rock, so the characteristics that the Emperor represents don't really matter. However, its long association with royalty, I think makes it fit very well. As for his moveset, it's a treasure demon. It exists to encourage fusion, so its moves aren't representative of anything. Its trait also feeds into that, giving a couple extra options for fusion. When itemized in P5, it becomes the Regent accessory, giving a medium crit rate up and +3 strength. In Royale, it instead gives Attack Master and +3 strength. And if itemized under a fusion alarm, it gives the Regent R accessory, giving Attack Master and +5 strength. Before we wrap up, I do want to make mention of where you can find Regent. You first encounter it in Madarami's museum, which makes sense. It's in the Louvre, so that tracks. What I really want to talk about is its location in Mementos. If you're like me and thought that the area names in Mementos had some kind of meaning behind them, then congrats, you were right. The area names are based on usually corrupted Hebrew words. Don't worry, I'm not going to try and pronounce these words. You're welcome. Regent appears in the first 3 areas, and those areas are materialism, instability, and desire. Materialism and desire are self-explanatory. It is a big shiny diamond. And while the instability doesn't represent what it is, it could easily represent its time as one of the French royal jewels, since during that time France was like, super unstable. Neat. Overall, this representation is terrible. The best thing was the names Mementos, and that was me reaching for literally anything. Get it together! Thank you very much for watching. Did I leave anything out? Did I get anything wrong? And who should be next? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.